Okay, so factoring didn't go quite as we wanted it to go, so we need a little more practice. I want to suggest to you as you do this, do this remediation first without this video. First, choose the method over here, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Choose the method and then go actually do the factoring. Then you'll know what you don't know. So you can listen carefully only to what you need to redo, okay? So please try this on your own. It doesn't do any good to keep copying if you're not quite sure, you haven't pinpointed what it is you don't know. All right, so I'm gonna let you turn off the video, go do it, and then come back. All right, so you turned it back on. Here we are. So I'm looking at number 1, and I see that I have 3 terms. Okay, I can't group it, but they've all got A's and B's and 3's, right? So I'm going to say the method I'm going to choose is GCF, okay? And my GCF is 3. There's a 3 everywhere. There's only one A here, so there's one A and one B. So my GCF is 3AB. So I'm going to divide 3AB, and I would usually underline them, and divide each one by 3AB. What do you have left? And you're going to have 3 terms. Okay? So I divide 3AB. I don't have the 3 cancels, the A cancels, and I'm left with B squared. This one is negative. 9 divided by 3 is 3. There's 2 A's left, A squared, and 1 B left. 3A squared B plus. This last one just cancels out. 3AB over 3AB is 1. Okay? Greatest common factor. Looking at this one, well, it's a trinomial, 3 terms, 1, 2, 3. So looking, I could do factoring a trinomial. Oh, A is not equal to 1, so it's factoring a trinomial, A greater than 1, use magic box. So what multiplies to AC? Negative 14 multiplies to negative 14, but adds to positive 5. Well, I know that 7 and 2, if I make the 2 negative, those 2 will multiply to negative 14, but add to positive 5. So I'm ready for my box. I make my box. In the top left-hand corner, I put 2x squared. Bottom here, negative 7. And then positive 7x and negative 2x. Now I'm ready to find your factors. I'm finding the greatest common factor between these two. Well, there's a positive 7. This is positive, so this is positive. I'm going up. I can factor out a 2x. There we go. When I go left, I can factor, only thing I can factor between these is 1x. And this row, the only thing I can factor is a negative 1. This is negative, so this must be negative. So my factors are 2x plus 7 times x minus 1. And I check myself. If I FOIL this back together, 2x squared minus 2x plus 7x, yep, that's 5x minus 7. Yep, it works. So there's my answer for factoring a trinomial. A is greater than 1. Looking at this question, I hone in on this, x cubed. This tells me sum and difference of squares formula. So I go up here. This is sum, so I use this formula. So keep your finger up here. First you have to identify, so we're doing sum of cubes. That's the method that I'm using. And what I'm going to find is I'm going to try to find first A and B. Right, because all I want to do is plug in A and B, so I need to find them. And I find them by taking the cube root of the first term and the cube root of the second term. So I ask myself, what multiplies to itself 3 times to get 9x cubed? Well, that would be 3x. And what multiplied to itself 3 times would give me 64? That's 4. You may use a calculator if you don't know that, and use math button, and then you want the cube root button, which I believe is number 4. Okay, number 4, and then it'll open up a cube there, and you can put in your 64. That's the calculator if you need it. So then I've got my A and B, I'm going back up here. So this equals A plus B, 3x plus 4. Okay, that sign matches. Next, A squared. 3x squared, 9x squared. You have to square the whole thing. Minus a times b, minus 12x, plus b squared. And I'm done. I've done the sum of cubes. All right? Moving on. What do I do here? Well, I see it's going to be a cube formula, but I know that I don't know the cube root of 6, so let me factor out a 6. So it's first use a GCF, and then, so then what do I get? I get 6 times x cubed, 24 divided by 6. Whoops. Nope, I chose the wrong, nope. Yep, I chose the wrong GCF. Sorry. So let's start over. I did because I can take an x out. Okay, so sometimes that happens. So I'm going to take a 6x out. What's left? X squared. When I divide out this by 6x, I'm left with x squared. And when negative 24 divided by 6 is minus 4, the x's cancel. There I am. But I'm not done because I can further factor this. So I used GCF and the difference of squares formula. Okay? Difference of squares up here. A squared minus b squared is a plus b, a minus b. So this becomes, write that again, don't lose that factor, and then it's just, what is a? A is x and b is 2, the square root of each piece. Just ignore the negative sign for now. That just tells you you can use this formula. And I have a plus b times a minus b. And there you have it, completely factored. And I said a minus b, but I meant 2. X plus 2, x minus 2. Okay, moving on. We look at this and we say, that is a trinomial. So I go back up to my b and c. Obviously, those aren't numbered too well. And I say to myself, is there anything that multiplies to negative 30 but adds to negative 1? And I think, yeah, 5 and 6. If I make the 6 negative, it'll add, there's what it'll do. Now, this is a equals 1, so all I have to do, this is factoring a trinomial, and all I have to do is write out my brackets x plus 5, negative 6, plus 5, negative 6, and I'm factored. Done. Next one. When I look at this, I see it's a difference. It's only 2 terms. This is the difference of squares, right? The square root of this is 2x. That's your a. The square root of 49 is 7. So my factors are 2x plus 7 and 2x minus 7, the difference of squares. All right. Next one. I look at this and I try to see if I can factor it. Is there anything that multiplies to negative 4 but adds to positive 2? We have 1 and 4. Make that negative. Nope, that won't add. And I have 2 and 2. Nope, that will not add to 2. It's not factorable. So I use the quadratic formula. Okay. A is 1, B is 2, C is negative 4. X equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times 1 times negative 4, all over 2 times a. Okay, so what I want to do is, these I know, so I'm just going to write that out again. I get negative 2 plus or minus this discriminant under there, all over 2. And I'm going to take this discriminant and work on that. What is under the discriminant is 2 squared, 4. Now, do I add or subtract? A negative times a negative. There's an even number of negatives. That's going to be plus. 4 times 1 times 4 is 16. So this is a 20. So this is a 20. Now, I can take out, let's look at that. I don't want to leave that because 20 can be factored into 4 and 5. Remember, you only take off your radical hat when you take the square root. So this becomes 2. You can take the square root of 4, radical 5. So my final answer is negative 2 plus or minus 2 radical 5 over 2. If I want to, I can simplify that down because the 2 divides in here and here to negative 1 plus or minus the square root of 5. There is no I because there is no negative sign under the radical. And that is my answer. All right, 2 more to go. So I look at this trinomial, and it has 3 terms, and they all have an x in it. So I'm going to do G, C, F, and then see what I have. I take out an x, and I have x squared minus x minus 6. And I look, oh, that's just factoring, right? I can bring down my x and say what multiplies to negative 6 but adds to negative 1, multiplies to negative 6 but adds to negative 1. Put a 2 and a 3 here. We have to multiply to a negative, but we want to end negative, so we make the larger number negative, and so we get x plus 2, x minus 3. You have 3 factors. 1, 2, 3. So this was just greatest common factor and factoring a trinomial when a equals 1. All right, one more. I have 4 terms. When I have 4 terms, you want to think immediately of grouping them. Just divide them in half, factor each section. First group, what can I take out? I can take out 4x squared. What's left? X, and then this is the only thing that's left. 24 divided by 4 is 6. X squared over x squared, that just cancels. On the second half, I can take out a positive 2, and I'm left with x plus 6. I know I'm right because I have the same binomial. So then don't forget this step. You're not quite done. Your 2 factors, you're going to factor one more time. What factors? What can you divide both of those by? X plus 6. What's left? 4x squared plus 2. And you say to yourself, can you divide that any further? No, you mean factor it. You can't factor that any further. It's not the difference of squares. So the last thing here was grouping. All right, that's what you need to know for your quiz and for your math future.